back to today's episode of Mahabharata Matters. In the previous episode, we saw after losing in the game of dice again, it was decided that the Pandavas will go for Vanavasa, exile, for 12 years plus 1 year of Ajñātavasa, incognito, where they should not be recognized by anybody. If they were to be recognized, they had to go back for another 12 years for Vanavasa. Vidura had asked the Pandavas to leave Mother Kunti with him and he will take care of her like his own mother. Mother Kunti was distraught to see the condition of Draupadi. She was crying profusely. She blessed Draupadi and also requested her to not be harsh or rude to her sons as they were responsible for her condition today. And she even praised her daughter-in-law that she was a very virtuous woman. If it was not for her love and virtues, today her one angry look could have burnt not only the Kauravas but the Pandavas too. Only because she was virtuous and she loved her husbands very much, they were all saved from the wrath of her anger on that fateful day. Vidura and Kunti bid adieu to them at the end of the city. In the palace, Dhritarashtra was very anxious. On one side, he was actually happy that the Pandavas were going away for a very long time. But on the other hand, he was very scared for the future of his own sons as well. Many ill omens had happened, many prophecies had happened, many vows were taken, and Dhritarashtra was truly scared for his sons right now. He summoned Vidura to come to his palace. He wanted to know how the Pandavas had left to the forest. He wanted to know if the way they left figuratively meant something. Vidura said the whole city was in tears when they were leaving. Many wanted to accompany them, just like when Sri Rama went to the forest. Yudhishthira had his face covered with a cloth. The reason was his one angry look could burn the whole city that day. Bhima went clenching his fists. It showed that his vow was on his mind constantly. Arjuna was kicking the sand as he walked. It meant that with his arrows, he is going to blow them all to dust one fine day. Nakula had his body covered in ashes. He was most handsome of all. It was as though he depicted that he did not want the lustful eyes of the women of the city because they would all be without husbands very, very soon. Sahadeva had grime on his face, which indicated that he was going to be the secret weapon to destroy the Kauravas. Draupadi's face was stained with tears and her unbraided hair was flying everywhere. That indicated that the fate of all the women of Hastinapura was going to be like that when they mourn for their husbands and children very soon in the war. Dhaumya, their Kulaguru, was plucking kusha grass on the south side of the city. He was chanting mantras for Yama and Rudra. The Adhipati of the south direction is Yama, which meant that Yama will be at their doorstep very soon and destroy Hastinapura. After saying these things, Vidura left. Sage Narada came. Dhritarashtra thought he can ask for consoling, comforting words, at least from him. But Sage Narada too said it is just a matter of time. He said 14 years from now, all the Kauravas would be destroyed. The verdict for all their injustices would be given. Narada left too. After that, his charioteer Sanjaya came. He was Dhritarashtra's confidant. He would share all his thoughts and feelings with his charioteer. He told about the visits from Vidura and Narada. Even Sanjaya rebuked him. He said, "Your intense putra moha has brought you to this fate today. As a king, you were the only person who had the capacity to stop the misdemeanor and the atrocities of the day. But you kept quiet and you chose to side with your evil son." He chastised him and said, "You won't be able to live peacefully anymore." Dhritarashtra's turmoil started. He did not have a single day of peace after that. This brings us to the end of Sabha Parva, the second of the 18 Parvas. What are our takeaways from this story? Fate can change in a matter of seconds. One day they were kings and rulers of the whole land. The next day they were vagabonds. The fate of the Pandavas had changed in an instant. Thankfully, they were not attached to material wealth, so they were able to immediately leave for Vanavasa. This reminds us not to be attached to anything, as everything in this world is tentative. From Kunti and Draupadi, we see that what a great mother-in-law she was. She chastised her own sons for the fate of Draupadi today. Things seem different when we see subjectively. A small example for that. Two old friends met after a long time. They both were talking about their children and what they were doing. One of the ladies asked, "So, where is your daughter now?" She said her daughter was very lucky. She has found a wonderful husband. Her husband takes very good care of her. He even brings coffee to her bed, and she does not have to do much at home. And the friend replied, "That's amazing. How about your son? What is he doing?" And this lady's face immediately changed colors. She knocked her hand on the head and said, "His karma. He has found a wife who does nothing in the house. He even has to bring her bed coffee to her bed." We see that the same situation is seen differently when the thoughts of me and my creep in. Our reaction to it becomes different based on our biases. Kunti and Draupadi teach us to be very objective and not subjective. In Kannada, there is a saying, "Navu madida papa punya namma makkalanna kayutte." What it means is that the papa and punya we execute will be protecting shields for our children. The fruits of our actions get paid to us through the happiness or sorrow of our own children. So if we want our children to be happy, we might as well do good deeds. Dhritarashtra's approval of the adharma of his sons brought ill fate to his own sons. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. He who protects dharma will be protected by dharma itself. Dhritarashtra had violated all the boundaries and fringes of dharma. Hence, he had earned every bit of ill fate that was to come to him and his sons. With these thoughts, we come to the end of today's episode. Remember, in this series, we are discussing matters of Mahabharata because even today, Mahabharata matters. Hari Om.